Hi, I'm Tyler Condi, and I'm the host of the Primed Fatherhood podcast. I'm really excited to share episode 7 with you today. It's a primer episode, so it's meant to be a short, powerful principle that I share with you to help you to stay primed as a father and just really stay on your game and keep your focus. So, at some point in your life, you may find yourself saying something like, "We just don't love each other like we used to," or "I don't understand why I don't love them like I should." What you should do in this case is very different than what many people actually do. In this episode, I'm going to discuss what I've found that will help you when you find yourself lacking the feeling of love that you're looking for. We have answered the call. We are committed to a greater purpose.
We are fathers. Past achievements do not guarantee future success. We will prime ourselves often to navigate each new challenge.
We are capable, brave, and relentless.
We will remain undaunted.
So lately, I've heard a few people say things like, "We just don't love each other like we used to," and "I don't get why I don't love him like I should." These statements remind me of a story Stephen R Covey told in one of his books. If you don't know about Stephen R Covey, he is one of the most interesting and prolific authors of this century. He published books yearly for almost 2 decades. What were the subjects of all of these writings? Leadership, business, self-discipline, and so on. I've become a huge fan of him, and in his most successful book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, he describes a conversation between himself and a man who had just listened to him speak on proactivity at a conference that they were both attending. I'm going to read this discussion with you and talk about how this relates when you find yourself lacking love that you had before. The man came up to Stephen and said, "Stephen, I like what you're saying, but every situation is so different. Look at my marriage. I'm really worried. My wife and I just don't have the same feelings for each other that we used to have. I guess I just don't love her anymore, and she doesn't love me. What can I do?" So here's Stephen's reply. "The feeling isn't there anymore?" I asked. "That's right," he reaffirmed. "And we have 3 children we're really concerned about. What do you suggest?" "Love her," I replied. "I told you. The feeling just isn't there anymore," the man said. "Love her." "You don't understand. The feeling of love just isn't there." "Then love her. If the feeling isn't there, that's a good reason to love her." But how do you love when you don't love? My friend, love is a verb. Love, the feeling, is a fruit of love, the verb. So love her, serve her, sacrifice, listen to her, empathize, appreciate, affirm her. Are you willing to do that? So this is Stephen Covey giving this guy advice, telling him that he needs to love his wife in order to feel love for her. And by saying love her as a verb, he's saying serve her, sacrifice for her, listen to her, empathize to her, appreciate and affirm her. So I think that this is a really interesting idea that we don't naturally think about. When we think of love in the way that we see it portrayed in movies and even with people that we know from the outside looking in, love looks like something that happens to you. And those who are in love are just blessed with the opportunity to be in love, and there's no real control over it. I think that the real question to ask after reading Stephen R Covey's story is, why is showing love the verb, the catalyst to feeling love, when everything is portrayed that you just are lucky to feel love, and that's the whole story? He has something to say about it, and I've found a couple of examples to go along with it. Stephen Covey says, in the great literature of all progressive societies, love is a verb. Reactive people make it a feeling. They're driven by feelings. Hollywood has generally scripted us to believe that we are not responsible, that we are a product of our feelings. But the Hollywood script does not describe reality. If our feelings control our actions, it is because we have abdicated our responsibility and empowered them to do so. Proactive people make love a verb. Love is something you do, the sacrifices you make, the giving of self, like a mother bringing a newborn into the world. If you want to study love, study those who sacrifice for others, even for the people who offend or do not love in return. If you are a parent, look at the love you have for the children you have sacrificed for. Love is a value that is actualized through loving actions. Proactive people subordinate feelings to values. Love the feeling can be recaptured. So, in thinking about what he's saying there, proactive people are the ones who are taking action first and then expecting the feeling to follow. The popular sentiment is that you have to have passion before you go after something or before you take action. I feel like this relates to the experience of owning a car fairly well. So when you get a new car, that car is trendy, it's clean, it runs well, it's fun to drive. So you have this exciting and new experience in your new car. But as we all know, you inevitably end up wanting another car in just a couple of years. And so what happens that takes you from having that new car that you love to feeling like your car needs to be replaced after only a few years? Well, what's happening is you're experiencing reliability problems, or the seats get torn, or your kids stain your seats, or the trends in the automotive industry change. New models come out with more bells and whistles. Your car just starts to feel more worn out. It doesn't turn as tight, it doesn't go as fast. And eventually, you just kind of lose your enthusiasm for that car. That makes you crave the experience of having a new car again. And so you inevitably sell that car or just buy a new one, and then you experience all those things all over again. Well, how does this relate to relationships? When you first meet someone, there's a lot of mystery and excitement around meeting that special someone. And you want to impress them, so you start doing things for them. If they're wanting to impress you, they do things for you back. And that makes you feel really special and excited. You start feeling the love for them. Then if it gets more serious, you make commitments that make you feel good, makes you feel more secure. And before you know it, you're in that honeymoon phase where you're both infatuated with each other and everything seems so amazing. But then what ends up happening to make you feel like this relationship isn't meant to be? Well, when you're with people, you're bound to be let down. You're bound to not agree on everything all the time. And then you're tempted to stop doing things for them. And when you stop doing things for them, they stop doing things for you. You stop feeling the love for them. They stop feeling the love. Then no one is showing the love. And then all of a sudden you're kind of dissatisfied and other people start to look more interesting. So I can see how it's easy to fall into that trap. It's actually a lot easier than I think we realize, because it really just takes a couple of missed expectations that to kind of turn you off and start and allow you to start telling yourself the story of, oh, they don't love me, or, oh, I'm not feeling the love from them, so why would I show them love? And I don't think that that's even a conscious decision. It's just kind of an automatic reaction. So really, why should the relationship cycle be different than the car buying cycle? Well, when it comes down to it, the car is a static item that you know will wear out. And when you're in a relationship, you're dealing with a living, breathing human being, someone who can actually adapt and evolve and grow, and they can renew and reciprocate the love, unlike a car, which is just totally static, and once it's worn out, it's worn out. I think that's what Stephen Covey was getting at, was that a person's interesting qualities, their admirable traits, and their love can fade, but it can also be revived if someone is being proactive. When he was talking about it, he was getting to the point of, as a person, you can decide if you are going to be proactive and try to control the results that you get out of life, or you can let yourself default into being a reactive person who is just left with whatever happens to you. If you maintain your car, you'll feel better about your car for longer. If you maintain a habit of doing things out of love for your family, you will feel love for them because of your dedication, because of your sacrifice, because of the investment that you put in, and because you are serving them, and it's making you spend time with them and think about them and see the admirable qualities that they have. And then, hopefully, they will reciprocate the love that they're feeling coming from you, and you will feel even more love for them. So not only will you feel love because you're dedicating yourself to them and you're putting work into it, but you'll also feel love because they'll reciprocate what they're getting back from you. The reason that I bring this up in the primer episode is because when we're thinking of love as a feeling, we're letting ourselves into the trap of letting love come and go with the wind. Emotions come and go with the wind. They change instantly within us depending on our circumstances, and it's not really reliable in any way. But if we think of love as an action, love as an investment, then when we're putting time and effort into our relationships and we're showing love, we're doing love as a verb, like Stephen Covey says, then it doesn't matter what we're feeling while we're doing it or what we feel after we're doing it, because we know that the love is there because we're showing the love and we're feeling it as we're taking the action. If we're just sitting around waiting to feel it, it will come and go based on how the day goes. And that's something that I think is worth the quick reminder of this episode, is just that we need to remember that there's a lot more to love than just feeling what someone is sending back to you. Of course, you want to feel that, and you should feel that. And this principle of showing love first and feeling love second isn't going to solve everything. It's not going to solve relationships that are very one-sided, or it's not going to solve relationships that have been severely injured by something that one of the people have done. But in many cases, this is the problem in a lot of relationships that we have. It's that we're not putting any effort into it, and we're expecting a lot back. So I just want to challenge you to decide to be a proactive person, and challenge you to show more love if you're feeling like you're lacking love. And just remind you that by showing the love, you will eventually feel it. The feelings will follow. So I just want to leave that with you. I want to thank you for listening today, and just as always, remind you that if you got something out of this episode, please share it with someone who will also get something from it. Please make sure to subscribe to the Primed Fatherhood podcast wherever you're listening or watching. And if you want to add to the conversation, please leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us, and stay primed.